The sound of breaking boards echoed across the training hall just as the single-dad veteran walked in, and in that instant, the twin CEOs, world-renowned karate black belts, turned their cold, assessing eyes toward him. He didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He simply stood there, shoulders heavy from years of battle and the burdens of raising a daughter alone. But beneath the calm exterior, a storm of forgotten memories and silent pain churned, because he knew the moment he tightened his fists that this wasn't just going to be a friendly spar session. It felt like life was bringing him to a new test, one that no rank, no medal, and no uniform had prepared him for. And yet, he stepped forward anyway. If you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. The veteran's name was Aaron Cole, a man who once wore the uniform of a Special Forces operator before he ever wore the tired but proud smile of a single father. For years he had lived in the shadows of trauma and sacrifice, working construction during the day and doing night shifts as a warehouse guard just to make sure his little girl never slept on an empty stomach. He had learned to live with little, to expect nothing, and to survive anything. Yet still, walking into the massive glass-walled dojo on the top floor of a corporate skyscraper, owned by the twin brothers Damien and Daniel Reed, felt like stepping into a world far beyond his reach. The Reeds weren't ordinary businessmen. They were billion-dollar tech innovators, championship martial artists, and viral internet legends. Why someone like him had been called here was still a mystery he couldn't piece together. As he tightened the worn straps on his old training gloves, Aaron's mind drifted back to why he had contacted them at all. His daughter, 10-year-old Hazel, had always dreamed of joining a real martial arts academy after school, one where she wouldn't be mocked for wearing hand-stitched uniforms and using second-hand equipment. She wanted to learn discipline and confidence, to have a space where she felt strong, not small. The free trial at the Reed Twins Elite Academy had been her chance. But when Aaron saw the monthly fee, he felt his chest cave inward. No amount of overtime could cover it. Swallowing his pride, he had sent an email explaining his situation, not expecting any reply. Instead, the twins themselves had summoned him to their headquarters and asked him if he still remembered how to fight. Now he stood barefoot on the polished wooden floor, surrounded by fighters who had likely never known the sting of sleeping in cars or skipping meals. The room fell into a hush as the twin CEOs walked toward him, their presence cutting through the space like a blade. They were identical in height and build, sharp jawlines, calm but piercing eyes, and the unmistakable confidence of men who had shaped their empire through discipline and dominance. When they circled him, the air thickened with anticipation. Aaron could feel dozens of students watching, whispering, doubting him based solely on his faded sweats and weather-beaten face. The twins asked if he was ready, and he nodded, not because he felt prepared, but because saying no wasn't something he had ever learned how to do. The spar began with slow movements, their feet sliding across the mat like shadows testing his rhythm. Aaron had not sparred in years, not since the military, where combat wasn't a sport but survival. Yet his body remembered, muscle memory tugged at his limbs, his senses sharpened, and his breathing deepened. When the first strike came, a fast, precise kick from Damien, Aaron blocked it with a fluidity that surprised even himself. Daniel followed with a flurry of sharp jabs, testing his reaction time, and Aaron slipped past them with a pivot that felt instinctual. Gasps rippled around the room. No one had expected the worn-out single dad to move with such lethal grace. But the twins were champions for a reason. Their movements became faster, more calculated. Damien struck low while Daniel struck high, a synchronized attack that would overwhelm even trained athletes. Aaron stumbled once, catching himself on his forearm. A flicker of old pain shot up his side, a scar from a battlefield explosion that had left him hospitalized years ago. Sweat gathered at the back of his neck, more from the memories than the exertion. The twins noticed his hesitation and pressed harder. For a moment, the room blurred. He saw flashes of sand, smoke, and burning nights spent wishing he would live long enough to see Hazel's first birthday. But then he heard a voice in his mind, a soft, innocent giggle of his daughter cheering for him from the bleachers of an imaginary future. He steadied his stance. What happened next shifted the energy of the entire hall. Aaron stopped defending and started anticipating. He read their next movements before they even happened. When Damien's knee lifted for a roundhouse, Aaron stepped inside the arc and tapped his shoulder, signaling a clean point. When Daniel launched forward with a punching combination, Aaron slipped under and placed his palm lightly against Daniel's ribs, another point. The room erupted in stunned silence. The twin CEOs stepped back, exchanging glances of disbelief. The veteran, the man who walked in looking like he didn't belong, was matching them strike for strike. But Aaron wasn't fighting for pride or recognition. He was fighting because every punch he threw, every block he landed, was powered by a father's love. He wasn't here to impress the world. He was here because Hazel believed he could do anything. In a final decisive moment, Damien and Daniel lunged at him together, a last test, a final rush. Aaron exhaled, lowered his center of gravity, and executed a flawless sweep that sent both CEOs stumbling back at the same time, forced to regain their balance before they hit the ground. The room froze. The silence stretched. And then, slowly, applause began to spread across the hall like a rising tide. The twins stood still for a long moment, and instead of anger or bruised egos, a look of respect washed over their faces. They approached Aaron, not as CEOs, not as fighters, but as men humbled by another man's quiet strength. They asked about his training, his past, and when Aaron finally admitted why he had come, why he had embarrassed himself by asking for help, they didn't laugh or judge him. Instead, they listened. They listened to how he had raised Hazel alone after losing his wife during childbirth, to how he had left the military with injuries that nearly cost him mobility, to how he worked 2 jobs while skipping meals just to make sure his daughter ate well. When he told them about Hazel's wish to join the academy, his voice cracked for the first time that day. Something shifted in the twins' demeanor. Their tough, disciplined expressions softened. They exchanged another glance, one filled with silent agreement, and then told him that Hazel wouldn't just receive full sponsorship into their academy, she would be enrolled in their elite mentorship program, trained personally by them. They insisted on it. Not because of Aaron's fighting ability, but because of the heart he carried into the ring. Because Hazel deserved a future shaped not by circumstances but by opportunity. And because sometimes, even the strongest men need someone to believe in them. When Aaron stepped outside the building that evening, the sun was setting behind the skyline in gold and amber streaks. He felt lighter than he had in years. The weight of debt, worry, and fear didn't vanish, but somehow, it didn't crush his chest the same way anymore. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope, a fierce, overwhelming hope that maybe life wasn't done giving him new beginnings. And when he picked up Hazel from school, her joy when he told her the news was enough to make the toughest soldier crumble. As the story nears its end, if it touched your heart even a little, please like, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to life. Before we close, here is a special request: comment below what part of the story moved you the most. That night, as Aaron tucked Hazel into bed and watched her drift off with dreams of uniforms and training halls, he realized something powerful. Sometimes miracles don't come in shining boxes or grand gestures. Sometimes they come disguised as challenges, tests that push you into rooms you never thought you deserved to stand in. And sometimes, on rare, life-changing days, those rooms give back more than you ever imagined.